This is my audience. So today I'm going to be speaking about pronoun antecedent sentences and the mistakes that come with that. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Hannah Higgins. Here's some of my favorite things and some of the recent things I've been doing. So I love crocheting. I recently crocheted a Winnie the Pooh. Here's just hanging out with friends, one of my favorite things to do. And here's a recent volleyball banquet that I went to because volleyball is one of my favorite things, but let's get right into it. Okay, to start us out, what is a pronoun? So a pronoun is just a word that takes place of a noun. So examples could be like his or her, he, she, they, all of those. And an antecedent is just a word for which the pronoun stands. So this example being President Lincoln delivered his Gettysburg Address in 1863. So the pronoun would be his because it stands for Abraham Lincoln, President Lincoln, and the antecedent just being President Lincoln. So my personal errors in my essay would be these that follow. So my first example is anticipation and sadness arises when someone is faced with losing someone they love, but pleasantly surprised and overjoyed when their loved ones beat the odds. So the errors in this one is that I started out with someone being the antecedent, and then I followed with a plural pronoun afterwards. So you have to stick with, if you start out with a singular antecedent, you have to stick with the singular pronoun. And my second example was everyone experiences regret at some point for how their life turned out. And for my second pronoun there, it was too vague, so you have to change it to his or her. So here are the corrections I could make. So the first option here is the incorrect version. So anticipation, sadness arises when someone is faced with losing someone they love. So using two someones in the first phrase is very redundant and can get confusing. So the second phrase being, but pleasantly surprised and overjoyed when their loved one beats the odds. So I can fix this by just changing the second pronoun to his or her, so it's less vague and it's less confusing. So I separated the highlighted sections with different colors to see which pronouns and antecedents go with one another. So someone and his and her, and someone and loved ones. And to correct my second sentence, it's a very simple fix, but you can just, so everyone experiences regret at some point for how their life turned out. To make it more clear on who we're talking about, we can just change their to his or her. And here are a few more examples to understand the concept. An incorrect sentence would be, if a student wants to return a book to the bookstore, they must have a receipt. So there's two ways we can correct this, two best ways. So the first being, if a student wants to return a book to the bookstore, he/she must have a receipt. But sometimes that can get wordy in an essay if we're constantly using he or she. So we can also correct it by making students plural, and then we can use a plural pronoun. So if students want to return a book to the bookstore, they must have a receipt. And a second example would be, each of the participants has given their approval. That would be incorrect because the first antecedent is singular, and then following that would be a plural pronoun. So to correct it, you just start out with your singular antecedent and then follow with a singular pronoun. So each of the participants has given his or her approval. And I have a short quiz, 2 questions. I know.
For us?
For y'all. So no worries if y'all don't get it right. But
come on, we can do this.
when given a singular antecedent,
I'm sorry, say it over.
when given a singular antecedent, you must have what kind of pronoun? Singular or plural?
Say singular.
You do it.
Singular.
Yes, awesome. And then the second question is when the word each, a singular antecedent, is used in a sentence, what pronoun should be used? They, which is plural, or his or her?
His or her.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Good job.
And do y'all have any questions?
Don't know.
I think you did an awesome job. I actually learned something.
Awesome.
I'm listening.
And that concludes my presentation on pronoun antecedent sentences.
Very good.
And here's my audience.